Okay, attempt number 2 at recording this. The first time I was recording this, someone's car fell apart driving by my window, and that was pretty funny. You know them, you love them, maybe you hate them, but you see a lot of them. Our first 200 on the channel by our 100th subscriber, the Dom. The Dom is definitely interesting. Love the color scheme, love the beam sword. You see it everywhere in Gunpla. There's a lot of different variations of it. It's almost like it's a infatuation in the Gundam community, but definitely a fan favorite of many. So what do you need to know about the Dom? The Dom is a 200 cost Various S type. Various S meaning that it is balanced between both offense and defense with an emphasis on shooting. Where can you find the Dom? The Dom is in the very first tab where you start off. So if you're just starting off the game, you're going to be in the Mobile Suit Gundam tab with the RX-78, and you just simply scroll down, and at the bottom of the tab, there's the Dom. The Dom has 3 pilots that you can unlock in the game, which I want to note, because I haven't covered that at all for multiple pilots. And it's a various shooting type, but you can pick whichever gear you want. Gear picking depends on your gear style, on your play style. Most people say go with blazing gear because it doesn't really matter, but play and test with both. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. Excuse me. So we always start off with movement here in these spotlights. So the Dom has no extra animations for movement like some other mobile suits and Gundams in the game, but he does have a sort of dodge roll, which is his R2 or BC on arcade, which would be your melee and boost. If you press it neutrally and in any direction but left, he will go right. Just throwing that out there. Looking through the command list for what we have, pretty much the basics. You know, bazooka, heat saber, charge defuse, Zaku rifle, call for the Dom squad, and special movement, which we just talked about. So moving forward with how we do things, range fires a single bazooka. You can fire them in quick succession and they will combo. They have very good tracking also, but they do not manually reload. The Zaku rifle is a machine gun, so it will fire 10 bullets if you hold it all together, which does do a combo knockdown. It does not manually reload. And if you hold melee, it will do a defuse. This defuse, excuse me, is a stun at very, very, very close range. There is another stun in the game, but we'll get into that later. So his stun, I don't know how practical it'll be, but it does work. I haven't been able to use it yet. If you press L2, he calls for the Dom squad. Now the Dom squad has different ways of being summoned. If you press it neutrally, they will line up in formation behind you, and they will only react if you press the range button. If you press forward in L2, you will call for an attack where one will launch out with its beam, with its heat sword, and the other one will shoot the bazooka. If you press left or right in L2, they will all spread out and fire at once. Keep that in mind. It takes a while for it to reload, as you can see, but you do get 2 per use, so try to use them wisely. They can be really useful in spreading out pressure between your target and your opponent's target, or if you want to spread pressure between 2 targets. Say this is 2v2, you can have them attack one target while you attack another target and just switch back and forth. So getting into melee, the Dom doesn't really have a lot of melee options because it's a Various S. Not many various shooting types have melee options. But what he does have in his arsenal is that special melee button. So during any attack, I believe, yes, no, not during any attack, except his forward and melee. During anything but his forward and melee, if you press R2 right afterward, he does the dodge spin, which does count as a cancel instead of using your normal dodge, and he'll go into another attack. So you can do 1 hit or 2 hits, press R2, spin around them, do another combo. Pretty good for evasion also. If you press back in melee, he will throw the bazooka and it will explode upon contact. It is not an infinitely traveling bazooka, just so that you know. It will travel about, I say, 20 to 25 meters before it naturally just explodes. Maybe 30 meters. The explosion radius is pretty big, so I say use it if you're shooting enough to where you run out of ammo. Just throw the bazooka, and by the time it comes back, it'll be reloaded. His dash attack, so by dashing forward and pressing melee, does a stun. This is the other stun I was talking about. So while doing the stun, you can press R2 and spin around. Another interesting thing with R2, his special melee button, is that you can spin twice. So after doing a melee hit or just pressing it neutral, and you press your range button afterward, he will spin around at a faster rate and fire the bazooka. The Dom didn't have any extra or special animations while using gears. Just the normal increase of lock-on, speed, damage output, etc. But no special animations like some Gundams and mobile suits have. I'm going to take a quick moment to talk about the Dom. So the Dom, being a 200, is not really beginner friendly. Most 200s aren't recommended for beginners, but if you're a Dom fan and you really love the Dom and you want to have some fun with it, I say use it. It does have its advantages and disadvantages, which we'll get into in a little moment, but don't let it discourage you from playing the game because other people don't recommend it. So getting to the burst, I did it twice just because I wasn't sure if I saw what I saw. It needs to be done within melee range, and the 2 Doms that escort you pretty much, or roll with you, the Dom squad, they fire their bazookas and then you slash them. It does decent damage and it's a pretty good setup at times also, but it threw me off for a loop. That's why I did it twice. Getting into gameplay with the Dom has high health for a 200 at 460, has pretty decent defense, but is mostly really balanced from what I noticed. Some 200s are really off-sided, and with the Dom, while I would not recommend the Dom for any new player at all, is really fun to use. And if you're a person who loves this mobile suit and all the different variations of it and all the different pilots that have made their own versions of it, I say go for it. Can't go wrong starting with what you love. I started with Char's Zaku 2 and branched out to other things, but the Dom has a lot in its kit, which is really good because you can really help your opponent. You can help your teammate with your opponent by sending out the 2 Doms to add pressure, or you can just really focus down on one opponent, which is something that a lot of 200s don't have. Even some 300s don't have. Just having the advantage of numbers of the 2 added the 2 added Doms on the combat field makes a big difference at times, and at times it can even decide if you win or lose a match. But always keep in mind that if you're using a 200, you should really get to learn the basics first, the basics of movement and how placement should be on the battlefield, what your role is, if you're a support type, if you're a Russian type, because people can really take advantage of you being a 200 if your partner is, say, a 500. They'll attack you first, or there's other strategies out there, I'll say, which one of them is in the description, where attacking 200s or 300s before a 500 is recommended. And then there are other strategies involved. But overall, the Dom is really cool. It's always really cool. It's really cool in everything. It looks cool, it plays cool, it has awesome animations and stuff like that. This isn't the only Dom in Gundam Versus, but it is the first one that I'm glad I was able to cover, because you know, you can't go wrong with the original. So as always, getting into the YouTube stuff, leave a like if you found this helpful or interesting for you. If you're a veteran out there and you have some tech tips or some additional analytics or combos, or maybe even, you know, talking more about the strategy of 200s on the battlefield, please post that in the comments below. It helps out a lot of people, and it helps out a lot of new players who maybe don't know where to find this information, which is what my videos are for. Getting information out there so more people can get into the game and more people can have fun and learn more about this amazing fighting game that gets no real big attention. Let's try to get it in Evo. Anyway, I will see you guys on the battlefield. I have a lot more videos to take care of, and I'm feeling a lot better today, so I'm gonna try to knock some more out before I go to sleep. But as always, subscribe if you want more Gundam spotlights and intro videos, and I will see you guys later. Peace.